We all want purpose. We all want meaningful lives. And no matter who you are or what your perspective is on what a meaningful life is, I think most of us would agree that a life devoid of meaning and purpose is not a good thing, is something that is not desirable. I spent a large portion of my life looking for meaning or looking for purpose. And it's very easy to look at other people who have dreams or ambitions and be envious of that. To want that for yourself, to want something so deeply that you set your life on that. And for those of us who don't have that, we can feel like something is wrong with us, that we need to find it, or that we need to manufacture it within us. Because otherwise, what do? You end up in this situation where you feel directionless, where you're not quite sure where to go. And oftentimes, having no direction or not being on a path can look like freedom. You can do anything. You can do whatever you set your mind to. But how that manifests in a life is that it becomes a prison. You get lost in the options. And because there is so much to do, the problem lies with you. You don't know what you want to do. So what do? You can't force yourself to want something. And you can keep trying things, but what if you don't connect with anything specific? What if you're a generalist? What if you like doing lots of things, but not one thing in particular? Sooner or later, you are going to end up craving a deeper connection or a more intimate experience. And typically what happens is when we don't have meaning or purpose, we become our own source of meaning and purpose. It becomes all about our feelings, and our feelings become our purpose. Our pain becomes our purpose. Our happiness becomes our purpose. We end up chasing and pursuing feelings, trying to create happy times or good things or have good experiences, chasing fun, chasing excitement, because we don't have something to tether us to a more long-term plan. When you have goals and ambitions or dreams, you know that you want to work towards something. So your actions typically try to align as closely as possible with what is going to bring you closer to that goal or closer to that dream. But in the absence of that dream, you are almost forced down one of two paths. You either abandon meaning and purpose and live for the moment. You live a more frivolous life where you are not taking things too seriously. You're not trying to achieve something. You are just living for the moment. Or your purpose becomes finding your purpose in a sort of meta way. You are trying to pursue that connection. You're trying to find something that is meaningful to you. Most people only really experience purpose or meaning for the first time when they have children. And unfortunately, while this seems like a really positive thing to live for your children, for your children to be your purpose and to be the best thing in your life, how this actually ends up manifesting is that it creates this attachment where your job as a parent is to nurture and guide, but really, because you know that they are something that is so meaningful to you and your whole life, your whole purpose, you want to hold on to them. You don't want to let them go. And even if you have the strength to do so, even if you know that that is what is best for your children and you do it because you love them, because they're your purpose, after they grow up or when they start to develop their own lives and their own ambitions, you're stuck in the same spot where you don't have your own purpose. You don't have your own meaning from life, and you are living for other people. And this burden is felt by those who depend on you, or maybe they don't depend on you anymore, but they know that their role in your life is to give you meaning. And that is quite the burden to take. Your children feel this obligation to satisfy your need for meaning, your need for purpose. So even when you have something deep at your core where you feel like your children are your purpose, you still need something substantial for yourself, a more intimate relationship that you have with yourself where you are connected to something that is not somebody else. It's something that you do for you because you want to do it, or you feel drawn to do it, or you need to do it. And then you end up back in the same position where you have these two paths. And if you abandon meaning, which for a period of time may be really satisfying, it might be really liberating, and you might relish in that freedom to do whatever you want and whatever you feel like at any moment in time, but it will feel like something is missing. It will feel like you want something more. You want to connect to something on a deeper level. I guess traveling would be a good analogy for this, where if you could just hop on a plane and go wherever you want and visit any different place, right? You would love seeing the world. You'd love going and traveling and seeing different cultures and meeting different people and having exposure to different ways of living. But after a while, you will want to build something substantial. You won't want to go from one place to the next constantly. You will be tired of stepping into other people's lives and seeing all of this life and meaning and, families and somebody who's built something like a home or a company or a village or is a part of a community, and you will long for that. You will want to be a part of something. You will want to have somewhere to call your own. Even the most nomadic people will still want something, some sense of community, some sense of family, some sense of belonging. And for them, that might not exist in the form of a fixed location, but it will exist. As much as we may not want to admit it to ourselves, as much as we may tell ourselves that we don't like people, or we don't belong, or we don't fit in, we are social creatures. We yearn for that. We want to be connected. We find meaning in meaningful connection, in relationship. And if you do something and nobody is around to tell it to, or to experience it with, or to share it with, then it becomes empty. It becomes just a memory in our own head. And I'm sure if you think about your most cherished memories, they will all involve people. Because when you have an event that happens, it is the people that make that event so special. And that's not always going to be the case. Like, there's times where I've been solo traveling, and there's been times where I had an amazing time on my own, and they are really fond memories. But the vast majority of memories that exist are memories or moments that you shared with somebody else. That is what made it a memory for you, is you can remember, oh, I met this person, or I had this conversation, or this happened. The few memories I can think of that don't involve people either involve animals, beautiful views, or where something unexpected or dangerous happened. But in a vast majority of cases, memories and meaning and purpose involve other people. That is what gives it meaning, is that it has an impact. And what truly makes it meaningful is the impact it has on something that we care about. So that could be the environment. It could be people that we care about. It could be a subject that we care about. That is the root of it, is the care that we have. That's what makes it meaningful. We care about something and we had a positive impact on it. And this is why I say that in the absence of purpose and meaning, you end up becoming the purpose and meaning. Because the only thing to really care about is yourself, is to care about how you feel, is to care about what you're doing, to care about what you want. These are the things that are meaningful to you, because if you had something that you cared about that was meaningful to you, that was greater than yourself, then you wouldn't need to search for purpose. You wouldn't need to search for meaning. You would already have it. And I can already feel my former self arguing with this, because I know that I cared deeply about many things, about almost everything. I wanted everything to be better. I wanted to do and accomplish everything. And I was almost too involved. I had too many options. And because I was a generalist, it meant that I didn't have a deep connection to one thing. It was spread across many things. So it didn't feel meaningful. It felt like I was tiptoeing across different subjects. And when you do that, you realize that there are really, really passionate people that really care about that one subject. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be humanitarian missions, or it could be climbing, or it could be kayaking. You will meet people that love it, that are obsessed with it. And when you meet these people, it's really easy to feel like, I want to feel like that. I want to care about something as much as these people care about that. And when you are more general, or you don't have that single track lane mind where you do this one thing and you are obsessed with it and nothing else, I know, at least for myself, that I wanted that. I wanted that feeling. I wanted that connection to something. And there were also times where I wasn't in a position where I could pursue what was meaningful to me. I had obligations, or I had responsibilities, or I had a lack of resources that made pursuing what I wanted to do impossible. Pursuing something that was meaningful to me was impossible. Because even being in a position where you are longing for meaning or purpose is a luxury. Because that means that you must be, to some degree, comfortable. You must be safe. Because otherwise, your meaning and your purpose is survival, and that's all you can think of. It's only when your base needs are met that you can finally start to think about, okay, well, now I have life and, I have what I need to survive. Now I have the option to think, what do I want to do with it? I've preserved this life and I've made sure that I'm safe, but what do I do with this safety? What do I risk it on? What do I gamble it on? How do I spend my time? You've got to this point where you're not going to die in the immediate future, so you have the option to choose how you're going to spend your future, what you are going to do. And I think that is the primary people that suffer, is that where we didn't have that opportunity as children developing to have dreams, to have this idea that we wanted to accomplish or that we wanted to focus on. We couldn't do things that were risky, like become a singer or a guitar player or a sport athlete or something like that. We didn't have the environment to do that. We had to have safety and food and shelter first. And those primary needs rob us of that ability to dream. Dreaming requires safety. And then when you finally have that safety, it can be very daunting thinking about what to do with it, because you haven't had it before. You're not well versed in this, and you haven't had time to think about it before. So you have it, and now what? Most likely, your worry and your stress and your primary focus will be on maintaining that comfort. But comfort isn't meaning, and comfort isn't purpose. Sooner or later, comfort becomes dull. It becomes grey. It lacks colour, it lacks excitement, it lacks life. Life is meant to be enjoyed and lived. And meaning comes from taking risk. Even if we take kids, for example, having kids or having a relationship or anything like that involves huge risk. You are attaching yourself so deeply to something that is mortal, that can suffer, that can be in pain, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that is a huge risk to take. And the bigger the risk, the bigger the consequence of doing something, the more meaningful it's going to be. The more responsibility you are going to take on, the more meaning you will have. I saw a clip a few years ago, and I think it was Jordan Peterson who was saying about finding meaning is taking the biggest load that you can carry and carrying it. And I think there's truth to that. The hard part is figuring out what you want to sacrifice for. Whether it's the betterment of humanity or whether it is for your children or your family or for your village or for your community. And if you don't have any of those, then maybe it's about building that, about creating community, creating relationships, creating something meaningful to then develop more meaning and more purpose. Maybe you have to start with just one relationship with someone else, and then that becomes relationship with many. From my experience, at least, meaning isn't built in one go. It's not like you just decide this is meaningful and then go for it. It's almost like you take a load or you take some responsibility that maybe you didn't think was yours, or maybe you didn't want to take, and you do it anyway. And then you actually care about that, and that becomes something meaningful in your life. And then you do it more and more, and you get more entrenched in it, and you develop this meaning over time. You care about it over time. And this is why the other path, the path of not abandoning meaning, but searching for it, it can be quite paralyzing. Because when you are looking for meaning, it eludes you. It's very evasive. And it's almost like when you're not looking, then meaning comes. But the harder you look for it, the more you miss the point. You spend all of your time looking for something that's meaningful, and the whole time that you're looking, you aren't building something that is meaningful. You aren't getting involved in things that are meaningful. You're too busy looking for meaning. So I don't think the phrase searching for meaning is the right way to go about it. But if you are in a position where, maybe your kids have grown up now, and you have a fresh start, you have the freedom to go and do what you want, and you are completely at a loss of what to do. Or maybe you were young and you have your whole life ahead of you, and you are trying to work out what you want to do with it. Any time that you are at this chapter in your life, which can happen many times in your life, where you have seen your meaning from the start to the end, or you are starting a chapter where you have to go out there and find meaning again or for the first time, you need to just go and experience, to go and do, and not focus so much on trying to find this meaning, but for living and experience to be that meaning until that develops into something meaningful. Until you do something, or you meet someone, or you get yourself in a situation that you go, no, this is actually something I want to invest my time in. Because if you're just sitting there going, I don't know what I want to do, I don't know what I want to do, that's not helping you. You're not going to find meaning that way. The only way you are going to find meaning is by doing meaningful things. And that could be sports activities or hobbies or traveling or doing different jobs or going and socializing and networking. These are going to be the ways that you find something that is meaningful to you. So even if you are not sure what you want to do, or even if you feel like you don't want to do anything, then you have to force yourself to start. And just start. Just book a flight and go somewhere new. Try something that you've never tried before. And if it doesn't work, go on to the next thing. If you don't like it, move on. Try something else. Don't just expect it to be one and done. Oh, I've tried this and it didn't work, so I'm going to give up. Or I tried this and I didn't like it, so what's the point in trying anything new? Keep trying, keep experiencing, keep putting yourself out there, keep putting yourself in positions where meaning can find you. Because if you do that, it will. Thank you for listening.